Hello, Blade HQ fam. I regret to tell you that George is no longer with us. It's been a great run with... What the f?
What's up, everybody? I'm George, and welcome to the Blade HQ warehouse.
Before we get into the video, we've got some awesome giveaways we want to talk about. With every Benchmade order while supplies last, you'll get a free Blue Box toolkit. With all orders on bladehq.com, you'll get a fridge magnet, and with all orders over $199, you will get that fridge magnet along with a flex cut leather strop while supplies last. And now, let's talk new knives.
Welcome to Blade HQ, everybody. As we said, I'm George.
I'm Theo.
And today we're talking about some of the new knives here for the week of December 19th. And stick around till the end because we have a bit of a stiff disagreement regarding some everyday carry knife philosophy. We're gonna settle it like gentlemen in the court of Blade HQ viewership. But first, let's talk about the Bradford Guardian 3.
Sounds good.
And this one is the new one with MagnaCut.
All right.
Yeah, so these have been around for a little while, like a few years since before I got here. And this is sort of the quintessential everyday carry fixed blade.
I think this one's a lot like the Schwartz scalpel that we looked at like last week or the week before. I'm actually a really big fan of these. I'm not usually a fan of fixed blades, as I've said before, but for EDC, this one's nice and small. It's got MagnaCut, so it's not gonna fail on you anytime. You got that long edge retention for it.
Yeah, can we talk sheath?
Yeah, sure thing. These have got like a really nice, I would want to say like full grain leather sheath on this thing, veg tan, so it'll age with time. It'll break in more. Right now it's kind of stiff because it's brand new, but as they break in, it'll conform to your body a little bit more, especially with like the scout carry that it's got, and it'll darken up and get a nice patina on it.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like maybe get a swivel knife at your local leather store, and maybe get this wet and maybe carve your initials or something less tacky into that. So these new ones with MagnaCut, super rad. And if you don't know about MagnaCut, check out our blog post about that. We break it down in all of its wonderful specs. A really great knife. And I really want one, and my wife said no. So this G10 model goes for $179, but if you want one of those 3D micarta ones with a bit more ergonomics, that'll cost you about $199. All made in the USA. I love them. Next up, perhaps the most different knife on the table. This one's your favorite, right?
This one confused me a lot when I was first looking at it. It's got a really funky blade shape to it, and I wasn't really expecting it at all. When you kind of like showed me what we were gonna look at on the table. I didn't get it, and then I got some backstory. It's kind of more of a emergency services tool. So if you're a firefighter and you're going through buildings and you really need to get in close on something and be able to cut into it, I think you had mentioned that the scales on it are kind of like a fireproof, carbon fiber, bulletproof material.
Yeah, so they're 3D printed using a filament that has carbon fiber shreds and bulletproof glass powder in there. So it has a really nice impact resistance and heat resistance.
The heat resistance definitely matters if you're in the fire or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think the blade shape, especially if you've got gloves or something like that on there, these holes are big enough that you've got no problem getting your fingers in there and like cutting through, whether it's like, I don't know, prying open a door if you need to break through a lock or something like that, or cutting through some sort of cord. Just being able to cut down onto it, sort of like an ulu.
I think they also intended it for some like everyday carry outdoor stuff. And so like if I'm making a fire or something, I mean, if you're putting out a fire, it's great. But if you're building one too, can make some good feather sticks or, mince your onions or whatever.
And these are made by Kilroy, correct? So
the Kilroy Workshop's Mini-Hawk. What I think is interesting is this sheath. So they thought if this is going into a fire, we don't want to have Kydex because Kydex will melt. It'll soften at least, and then your knife will just fall out. So with this, they went with this 3D printed stuff. I don't know if it's the same, but it's definitely the same as the handle, but it's definitely a heat resistant stuff, and it has a little spring lever here. So the knife just goes into there, and that way no matter how hot it gets, you have good retention, and then you use the ulti clip to put it on your turnout gear or whatever. And then when you need it, just push the tab, pull the knife. Now the Kilroy Mini-Hawk goes for $149 at bladehq.com right now. Anyway, next we're gonna go with your probably favorite knife on the table. This might be my favorite knife on the table, but I don't know. Theo's not a big knife guy.
As said before, yeah, not a big knife guy. I like knives, but not big knives. I am not a fixed blade guy, as mentioned several times before. This is definitely out of my wheelhouse for something I would find myself using. But I think...
He hasn't found the right wheelhouse yet.
Was it S30V on this?
S35VN.
S35VN on this one. It's got a finger troll too, so if you're doing any sort of fine work, even though it is such a large blade, you actually can get your finger up on that, which is nice. My micarta handles is most outdoorsmen have grown to love because it's got that kind of like stickier feeling to it as it gets wet and you use it.
So before SE was SE, this is the Ontario Rat 6, by the way, new for 2022. Before SE was SE, they were just the Randall's Adventure Training Group, and they still are that. That SE is very much their side hustle. They would contract their knives out through Ontario, so that's where the Rat 3, which looks a lot like the SE3, came from. But this one is a new design from them, and it has the same handle pattern, and luckily there's an aftermarket for that. So I think I might get some SE scales from that with the contoured mic.
I think that'd be a good idea. A lot more comfortable.
But the S35VN, especially at this price point, $165 for a USA-made fixed blade with one
massive
thick slab
of it, yeah.
of S35. And then this sheath. So this sheath is this double stitched, maybe it's just single stitched around the edge. This nylon sheath with a plastic insert, so it's not gonna cut itself when you put the knife in either way. A nice strong snap, and then one of the most solid molly backs I've seen in a long time.
You can strap that on anything.
Yep, I'd put that right on the side of my pack, and then I'd use it when I got to camp, split some logs or whatever. Don't have to worry about rusting because that's S35VN. Now the Rat 6, the USA-made fixed blade, it gets you that chonky piece of S35VN, a nice sheath, and it all goes for $165 at BladeHQ.com right now, which is a really hard deal to beat. And I think Theo needs to carry it for a week. Tell me in the comments if Theo needs to carry this for a week. I'll say it. That'll be the first comment.
1 week of hard labor.
1 week of hard labor. Sorry, you'll build some like legs.
The office space will never be the same after I'm done with it.
So next up here, we've got the Kershaw Aethon throwing knives. So I really like these. So sometimes you get the sets of throwing knives and they have a cord wrap around the handle, and that's fine. It like gives a nice grip. And if I'm actually gonna use the knife for cutting, then I want that cord wrap. But if I'm just gonna throw this, because I have way too many knives for cutting, or maybe not enough, I would just take this and I would just throw it at things exclusively.
And you don't have to worry about like slicing or anything at the wraps.
Yep.
Like, I think you were mentioning before, sometimes you've like sliced through the wraps on the handles of other ones. These ones have nice thin handles, so however you're throwing it, you've got mostly blade, you don't have to worry about like hitting the handles on other handles. I'm not really sure if you want to be doing the flipping thing. I guess you could flip it as much as you want.
My buddy Tomas would be doing it.
Yeah, he would, yeah.
Flip, 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 flip. Yeah, these look like a lot of fun.
They do indeed. I think for $29.95, you don't have to feel too bad about losing these too, because as much as you throw these, sometimes you lose them, and it's not so much that you're gonna feel bad about losing it.
Yeah, honestly, at that price, I might grab a few sets.
It's not a bad idea.
And just have like 12 throwing knives.
Don't even have to go and pick them up.
I won't stick a single one of them. Yep. Also, a nice nylon sheath. Take it camping, throw it in the pack, throw it on the belt, whatever you're doing. Great for cosplay too. I don't know who throws a knife like that, but somebody. Next up.
The folders, finally.
The folders.
I'm so tired of the fixed blades.
So I love me a fixed blade, but I also love me the Kansept Fenrir.
That is a good looking blade.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at this. So this is a new designer, a guy named Greg Schaub, S-C-H-O-B. I don't know how to say it. Let me know. This one's a front flipper or a thumb stud, but I love the bolster layout of this. So it's got this really big, I'd almost call it a handle scale at this point.
It almost is. It definitely is a frame lock. Like if you look at it, it's still a frame lock. It's got like a stainless steel insert in the frame lock, so it's got the reliability of that titanium frame, but you also don't have to worry about like wearing out the lock face. But it's got the carbon fiber, is it copper carbon fiber, like laminate? It looks sick to me. I love this thing. It just, the aesthetics of it are amazing. Especially if it's like named after Fenrir, which is like supposed to kill Odin, who's like a Norse god. That's a fitting name for it.
See, when I hear Fenrir, I think of Cloud's motorcycle from Final Fantasy VII. I know, I'm weird, whatever. What I love about this is the blade. It's got this kind of almost arrowhead-like shape. And I just see that thing slicing so well.
It's also so thin behind the blade. Like like behind the edge, that is a very thin razor sharp blade you get on that thing.
Yeah. That one's a slicer for days. And I love that they left the titanium nice and thick at the back. That way it wants to stay in your hand. Doesn't want to go anywhere.
Yep. And you're getting all this for like what, like 179, 175, somewhere in there?
178 plus.
Yeah, these are sick. Like it's like, I feel like Kansept is kind of like throwing it out of the park with these. These are so good looking.
Yeah, they're really well made too. Great tolerances, great action, smooth, slick as butter.
S35VN on this? Yeah, S35VN on this thing too. Not bad at all.
Let's see if I can do like that, back front flipper trick. Woo! I got it. I really like this one. I'm after picking one up. Next up, we're going from the premium to sort of the more budget-friendly line. And this one's your personal favorite, right?
I actually really like this one. I'm a huge fan of Ferrum Forge designs, and this is the Kyril.
Made by SENCUT.
Yeah, made by SENCUT. It's Ferrum Forge design. They do designs with other people all the time, and I'm a huge fan of their designs. I've got a drop dowel. Very similar design. This one I like a lot. It's got the natural G10. You can sort of see through it. So like the lock bar, if that's something that you're interested in seeing, you can see it. You can also like RIT dye these, whatever color you want. Action on these is great. I think it's on bearings, feels great, flips great. It's got a upper finger choil, so if you want to get close to whatever you're doing when you're doing your EDC stuff, works out great too.
And that sheep's foot tip looks like it could do pretty well with cutting like
yeah,
tape
for
or
sure.
whatever.
Like slicing through a box or like whatever you're doing. Like everybody's most EDC tasks with like cutting through boxes, cutting through fruit, stuff like that. That'll work great. It looks great, feels great in the pocket. It's nice and slim.
Yeah, and like the entire SENCUT line, these are very affordable too. This one goes for $42.
Yeah, affordable but not cheap too. Like I really like how SENCUT has like a really like reasonably priced price point, but their stuff isn't chintzy or bad. It's just like well made but inexpensive. And you can see where they like didn't cut, it's not cut corners, but you can see where they didn't use like premium materials, but they save you the cost because of it.
Yeah, and the materials they use, like D2, like I remember a time when D2 was the steel. It was super premium. And if like, I remember, quick story, I was writing a paper for an English class and I wanted to write something that would go straight over my professor's head so she wouldn't grade me too harshly. Tool steel metallurgy, I'll go over her head every single time. You would be amazed at how much academic research there is about D2 steel. It's one of the most studied steels out there, and it has been proven for years to be a really awesome steel. And we live at a really awesome time in the knife industry because you're getting D2 steel on $50 knives.
That's true.
There once was a time when you were only getting it on the luxury titanium frame locks. Speaking of luxury titanium frame locks.
Yeah, it was just like Almar has the Almar, what is this one? The Ultralight Hawk. Oh, my bad flip. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Ultralight flip. This thing is really small, 2.75 inches, I believe, on the blade. It's super light though. This thing is titanium frame lock, like you'd mentioned. Again, it's got the stainless steel insert like we like to see in the titanium frame locks.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
mentioned
milled.
earlier, yeah, it was milled.
Yeah, if you're not gonna be able to see it from this angle, but the inside liners on or the scales, I should say, those are milled out. So even though it looks like it would be light, it is light. It's even more light because they've cut out so much space on both scales. Honestly, it's shocking.
Yeah, like it might be the most blade per inch you get on any titanium frame lock I've ever seen. And best of all, $74, BladeHQ.com.
Very reasonably priced for a D2 frame lock flipper on bearings. They also come in different sizes. I don't know if we have the other sizes in yet, but this is the smallest size. There is like a 3-inch one and then also a 4-inch, I believe.
Yeah, I think I'm taking the little one if I'm.
I actually really like the little one. It's fun to flip. It's probably also just great for like letter opening.
Yeah, a really great little knife. So I know I just kind of killed my case because I said I really liked this small knife, but recently Theo and I have been having this debate about what is the best everyday carry knife size. Because they brought over these and we were like, which one's your favorite? And we immediately grabbed the opposite knives and we're like, why? So here's why I think that the bigger knives, or as I like to call them, honky chonkers, are the better everyday carry knives. Because with a big knife, you get a really full handle, you get more sharpened edge.
That's very true.
At the end of the day, it's just more usable.
I
That's my
think
thought.
that when it's out of the pocket, it is definitely more usable, and I can agree with that. But in the pocket, that's where I think it matters. Because I don't use my knife all the time. I almost never have it in my pocket unless I'm flipping it or maybe like cutting an apple. So having something small but like fun to flip, this is way smaller than that thing. And I like the color on this. I like the flipping action. I think it's nice to have a small knife in the pocket so I can have multiple things in one pocket when I'm running around doing whatever instead of having to worry about it. I do see the point of having a bigger knife though, because when you do need to use it, this is more useful. This is a more useful tool than that one. But
I suppose this is like, this is a perfectly serviceable tool. You could get the job done, I suppose.
and there's room for a reverse like little Spidey flick channel thing on this one that you don't get on that one because it's too small, but.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope we've settled this in a kind way. I'm still gonna carry my honky chonkers.
You're still gonna yell at me after this?
Still gonna yell at you after this. Maybe we could settle this in the parking lot, we'll see. Let us know. Do you prefer the honky chonkers or the slimmy jimmies?
Slimmy jimmies or honky chonkers? Team Slimmy Jimmies all the way.
Team honky chonker. Maybe we should put up a poll after this video on
a good
YouTube.
idea.
I think we're gonna do it. And whoever wins owes the other person a high five.
A deal.
Excellent. Anyway, By the way, let's talk pricing real quick. The Victor goes for $45.95 with a K110 blade.
The Skipper goes for $27.95, and this one's got D2 just like the previous ones we were looking at.
All right. This has been fun, Theo.
It has indeed.
Well, thank you for joining us for New Knives today. Let us know in the comments if you are a honky chonky or a slimmy Jimmy. And like, comment, subscribe, do all that. And we'll see you guys on the next one. I'll just do that whole section again.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.